The Galactic Council Nexus did not welcome newcomers. It tolerated them. Suspended at the gravitational balance point of 3 burning stars, the Nexus was a monument to age, power, and memory. Its vast chamber curved upward like the inside of a hollowed moon, layered with tier upon tier of seating platforms. Each level represented status. The higher the seat, the older the species, the bloodier its history, the deeper its claim to authority. Humanity sat at the bottom. Admiral Elias Rourke stood motionless on the lowest ring, hands clasped behind his back, eyes lifted toward the towering figures above him. He felt no resentment. Placement was politics, and politics was predictable. What concerned him was how comfortable the galaxy had grown with its own arrogance. The chamber vibrated faintly as the council session was called to order. Energy fields shimmered across the air, translating languages, stabilizing atmospheres, and enforcing the illusion of unity. Rourke barely noticed. He had been here before. 12 years of council membership had taught him that decorum was a performance, not a principle. At the highest tier, High Executor Valcor rose from his seat. The karate commander was immense, even by the standards of his species. His scaled form was armored not just by ceremonial plating, but by centuries of fear carefully cultivated across the galaxy. When he moved, the chamber quieted. When he spoke, history listened. Representatives of the Galactic Council, Valcor intoned, his voice resonating with controlled dominance. We convene today to address a matter of growing concern. A matter of trust. His gaze dropped, slow and deliberate, until it settled on the human delegation. Earth. A ripple of quiet amusement passed through the upper tiers. Rourke caught fragments of translated whispers. Too soon. Too young. Too ambitious. Valcor continued. When humanity petitioned for council membership, it did so under clear conditions. Demilitarization. Transparency. Peaceful integration. He paused, letting the silence sharpen. Yet our sensors have detected anomalous energy signatures near human-controlled space. Power levels inconsistent with civilian infrastructure. A holographic projection flared into existence above the chamber floor. Pulses of light marked regions along the edge of known space, human territory. The signatures were immense, unmistakable. Valcor's crest flared slightly, a gesture of disdain. You assured us your species had abandoned the tools of large-scale warfare. That Earth sought cooperation, not conflict. So tell us, Admiral Rourke, were those assurances lies? All eyes turned downward. Rourke stepped forward, boots echoing softly against the polished surface. He did not rush. He did not hesitate. He had learned long ago that speed invited scrutiny, and hesitation invited weakness. High Executor, he said evenly, Earth has violated no council statute. A few delegates shifted unimpressed. Valcor's eyes narrowed. That is not an answer. It is the only one required, Rourke replied. The chamber stirred. A Murati Anvu clicked its mandibles in irritation. A Threlian elder leaned forward, interest sharpening. Valcor's silence stretched, dangerous and deliberate. You stand accused, the High Executor said, of concealing military assets capable of destabilizing galactic equilibrium. Rourke met his gaze. Earth stands accused often. That earned a low hiss from the karate ranks. Valcor descended one level, his massive form looming closer. Your species is young, Admiral. You mistake tolerance for trust. The Council does not survive by hope. It survives by force. Rourke did not argue. He had no intention of educating a creature who believed fear was wisdom. Therefore, Valcor continued, the Council issues the following directive. Earth will open all military, industrial, and orbital facilities to immediate inspection. Full access. No exceptions. A pulse of energy rippled through the chamber as the directive was logged into Council record. You have 72 standard hours, Valcor added. Failure to comply will be interpreted as hostile intent. The threat was clear. Inspection was not about verification. It was about submission. Rourke inclined his head slightly. And if Earth refuses? The High Executor smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Then Earth will be corrected. Silence followed. Heavy. Absolute. Rourke felt it then, the familiar weight in his chest. Not fear. Responsibility. He thought of Luna's shipyards, of silent fleets drifting beyond map space, of doctrines written by people who never expected to be thanked. We will respond within the allotted time, Rourke said. Valcor straightened, already losing interest. See that you do. The session ended shortly after. Delegates rose, energy fields disengaged, conversations igniting across 1,000 frequencies. Rourke turned away from the chamber, his escort falling into step beside him. Admiral, murmured Ambassador Lin through their private channel. They're mobilizing. I know, Rourke replied. You didn't deny the signatures. There was nothing to deny. Lin hesitated. They think we're bluffing. Rourke allowed himself a thin smile as the exit corridor sealed behind them. That's the mistake everyone makes. As the shuttle disengaged from the Nexus and Earth shrank to a pale blue icon on the navigation display, Rourke looked back one last time at the Council megastructure. Ancient. Powerful. Certain of its supremacy. They believed humanity had arrived unprepared. They were wrong. Earth had not joined the galaxy late. Earth had joined quietly. And now, the waiting was over. Luna Command did not impress visitors. That was deliberate. The facility sat embedded beneath the moon's regolith, a lattice of steel and composite buried deep enough to survive impact, radiation, and history itself. No banners marked its corridors. No statues honored victories. Screens displayed data, not propaganda. Humanity had learned early that anything meant to inspire could also be targeted. Admiral Elias Rourke stepped off the shuttle and into controlled silence. The air smelled faintly of ozone and recycled oxygen. Familiar. Honest. A waiting officer snapped a crisp salute. Command Council assembled, sir. Rourke returned it without ceremony. Any changes since we left the Nexus? No, sir. Council fleet is mobilizing on schedule. Estimated arrival at inspection range in 46 hours. Rourke nodded once. Good. That means they're confident. Confidence was the most exploitable weakness in the galaxy. The command chamber opened around him, circular and sunken, its central holodeble alive with layered projections. Earth. Luna. Human colonies scattered like embers across mapped and unmapped space. Seated around the table were the architects of restraint, admirals, analysts, civilian overseers, and quiet figures who had spent their lives preparing for a war they prayed would never come. Secretary General Amara Velasquez met Rourke's eyes. They're calling it an inspection, she said. They're bringing a fleet. Inspections don't require battleships, Rourke replied. General Kaido Ishimura folded his arms. They're testing boundaries. Seeing how far they can push before we fold. And if we don't? Asked Minister Hale. Rourke moved to the holotable. With a gesture, he dismissed the public defense schematics and replaced them with something the Council had never seen. Dark space bloomed into view. Not empty. Hidden. Points of light emerged, then thousands more, each tagged with identifiers unknown to any galactic database. Fleets without formation, dispersed across gravitational shadows, asteroid fields, deep orbit dead zones. No central mass. No single target. A hush fell over the chamber. This, Rourke said quietly, is why we signed the demilitarization accords. Velasquez frowned. That makes no sense. It does if you understand how the Council fights, Rourke replied. They decapitate. They destroy command centers, flagships, symbols. They believe power must be visible to be real. Ishimura leaned forward. And we made sure ours wasn't. Rourke nodded. Humanity never built a fleet. We built a condition. He expanded the projection. Ship classes appeared, each designed for function rather than intimidation. Modular hulls. Redundant systems. Independent command capability down to squadron level. No admirals in orbit, Rourke continued. No thrones in space. Every unit operates autonomously under broad doctrine. You can't cripple what doesn't rely on a spine. Minister Hale exhaled slowly. The Council thought we disarmed. We did, Rourke said. We dismantled what they understand as weapons. A younger analyst spoke up, voice careful. Sir, if this exists, why hide it? Why not deter them openly? Rourke looked at him for a long moment. Because deterrence becomes invitation. Because power displayed becomes power tested. And because we've seen what happens when fear becomes policy. Silence answered him. Rourke gestured again, and the projection shifted. Historical footage surfaced, old Earth conflicts, cities burning, lines drawn by certainty rather than understanding. Humanity had survived itself before it ever reached the stars. We learned the cost of escalation early, Rourke said. Every time we proved strength, someone tried to measure it. So we stopped proving it. Velasquez straightened. But now they're forcing our hand. Yes, Rourke agreed. And that was always the risk. Ishimura's voice hardened. If they inspect what we allow them to see, they'll conclude we're lying. They already have, Rourke said. The inspection isn't about truth. It's about compliance. Minister Hale tapped the table. Then what's the plan? Rourke did not answer immediately. He studied the hologram, the hidden lattice of humanity's survival stretching beyond conventional space. We delay, he said finally. We comply partially. Show them relics, mothballed platforms, symbolic defenses. Enough to insult them. Enough to reassure them. And if they strike anyway? Hale asked. Rourke's jaw tightened. Then we stop pretending. Velasquez hesitated. Elias, once this is revealed, there's no going back. The galaxy will never see us the same way. Rourke met her gaze. They already don't see us. They see what they expect. A soft chime sounded. An aide leaned in. Sir? External confirmation. Council enforcement fleet has crossed into acceleration phase. Rourke closed his eyes for half a second. Not in fear. In acknowledgement. Begin contingency readiness, he said. Phase 1 only. No deployments yet. The aide nodded and departed. Ishimura studied Rourke. You built this expecting betrayal. I built it expecting survival, Rourke replied. There's a difference. He keyed a private channel. A single phrase appeared on the screen, old, unassuming, meaningless to anyone outside human command doctrine. Stand by. Across deep space, systems stirred. Not weapons. Sentinels. Observers. Guardians waiting in the dark. Rourke turned back to the council. We didn't hide because we were weak, he said. We hid because we understood what strength does to those who believe they deserve it. Velasquez nodded slowly. Then let's hope restraint still matters. Rourke looked at the stars beyond the moon, distant and indifferent. It does, he said. Right up until it doesn't. And somewhere beyond known space, humanity's silence began to hum. High Executor Valcor observed the mobilization with practiced detachment. From the command dais of the Korati flagship, the Council's enforcement armada unfurled into formation, hundreds of warships sliding into alignment with mechanical precision. Their hulls gleamed with ceremonial markings and layered weapon arrays, each vessel a declaration of authority. This was not a fleet meant to fight. It was meant to be seen. Valcor's aide bowed slightly. Inspection group will reach Earth within the cycle, High Executor. As expected, Valcor replied. The humans will submit before our vanguard decelerates. He turned his gaze to the starfield, confident and bored. Young species always mistook tolerance for weakness. Humanity would learn, as all the others had. On Earth, the inspection ships descended through atmosphere with performative grace. Their escorts hovered openly, weapons powered but silent, ensuring the message was unmistakable. Cameras streamed live to Council observers as human officials welcomed the inspectors with measured politeness. Admiral Elias Rourke watched the feeds from Lunar Command, hands resting calmly on the console edge. "They're smiling," General Ishimura muttered. "They always do when they think they've won," Rourke replied. The inspectors toured orbital platforms first. Aging defense rings kept operational more out of tradition than necessity. They mocked the visible redundancies, scoffed at manual overrides, laughed openly when shown outdated rail cannons. One inspector, a tall Threlian, gestured dismissively at a docking bay. "You expect us to believe this protects a homeworld?" Human Liaison Captain Reyes answered evenly. "It's what we're prepared to show." The remark went unnoticed, dismissed as ignorance. As inspections continued, the council teams failed to ask the right questions. They catalogued what existed, not what was absent. Entire sectors lay empty. Dry docks without construction schedules. Communication arrays that did not route through visible command structures. Their arrogance blinded them. At Luna Command, an analyst leaned toward Rourke. "They haven't noticed the missing mass." "They won't," Rourke said. "Their doctrine doesn't allow for it." Hours later, the pretense ended. A sharp alert cut through the command chamber. Red markers flared at the edge of human-controlled space. A listening post, remote, unarmed, decades old, vanished in a burst of radiation. Official council transmission followed seconds later. "Incident classified as navigational error," the message read. "No hostile intent recorded." Rourke stared at the fading telemetry. The station's crew roster scrolled beside it. 12 names? All gone. Silence settled over the room. "That wasn't an accident," Minister Hale said quietly. "No," Rourke agreed. "It was punctuation." Velasquez's voice hardened. "They're escalating without declaring war. They believe we'll still comply," Ishimura said. "Fear makes species predictable." Rourke straightened. "It also makes them careless." He keyed an open channel to Earth's leadership. His image appeared across multiple displays, calm but unyielding. "The Council has crossed a line they pretended didn't exist," Rourke said. "This was never about inspection. It was about obedience. That phase is over." Hale hesitated. "If we activate contingency, there's no return." "There hasn't been for some time," Rourke replied. "We just stopped pretending otherwise." He turned to the communications officer. "Prepare broadcast. Priority black." The officer's hands moved with sudden gravity. Across human space, a message transmitted without fanfare. No dramatic preamble. No threat. A phrase embedded in forgotten protocols, spoken only in theoretical exercises and sealed archives. "Wake the perimeter." In deep space, gravity's shadows stirred. Ships long dormant disengaged from inert drift. Power cores warmed. Sensor arrays unfolded like waking eyes. Fleets emerged not in formation, but in awareness, each unit autonomous, each crew already briefed by doctrine older than the Council's laws. Back aboard the Karate flagship, the first warning came as confusion. "High Executor," an analyst called out, uncertainty bleeding into his voice. "Sensor anomalies detected along human borders." Valcor did not look up. "Civilian traffic." "Negative," the analyst said. "No hyperspace signatures. No conventional propulsion vectors." That earned Valcor's attention. He stepped closer as the tactical display populated with data, points appearing where empty space should have been. "How many?" he asked. The analyst swallowed. "Unclear. Numbers increasing. Hundreds, no, thousands." Valcor's crest stiffened. "Impossible. Our sensors would have. They're already inside standard detection ranges." The analyst interrupted, fear now unmistakable. "They didn't arrive. They were already there." Silence fell over the bridge. Valcor's gaze hardened. "Transmit to the Council. Immediate clarification from Earth." The response arrived faster than expected. Admiral Rourke's face appeared on the main display. Not as a plea. Not as a threat. As a statement. "You destroyed one of ours," Rourke said. "We considered that a message." Valcor hissed. You defied the Council's authority. No, Rourke replied calmly. We're responding to its actions. You were given an ultimatum, and you answered it with fire. Valcor straightened, forcing composure. You are outmatched. Withdraw these assets or be erased. Rourke's expression did not change. High Executor, you came here believing silence meant weakness. It didn't. It meant patience. Behind him, the display shifted. Human vessels continued to surface across the tactical map, not advancing, not retreating. Waiting. Valcor felt it then. Not fear. Disorientation. You hid, he said. 4 decades. Yes, Rourke replied. So we never have to use this. The transmission ended. On Luna, Rourke lowered his hand from the console. The room was silent, every eye on him. It's done, Alaska said softly. Rourke nodded. Now we see if the galaxy can listen. Beyond the edge of map space, humanity stood revealed, not roaring, not triumphant, but awake. The Council Armada advanced in perfect alignment, its sheer scale bending sensor readings and casting long shadows across the starfield. To its commanders, the formation was reassurance made visible. Order. Control. Finality. Then the stars changed. Not with fire or distortion, but with absence. Space itself seemed to hollow out as vessels emerged from gravitational shadows, not arriving so much as revealing themselves. They did not form ranks. They did not broadcast identifiers. They occupied space with quiet certainty, appearing behind, beside, and within the margins of the Council's advance. Thousands of them. A stunned silence gripped the Karate flagship's bridge. Report, Valcor demanded. His officers struggled to respond. Displays flooded with overlapping data, no hyperspace wake, no known propulsion signatures, no central command signal to disrupt. They're distributed, an analyst said, voice tight. No flagships. No command spine. Valcor's claws curled. Target their leaders. There are none, the analyst replied. Every vessel is operating independently. The first human strike came without spectacle. A Council cruiser's engines went dark. Not destroyed, disabled. Its weapons followed seconds later, then its hyperspace drive. The ship drifted, intact and helpless. Another followed. Then 3 more. Precision rippled outward, surgical and restrained. They're not firing for kills, an officer whispered. Valcor felt the ground shift beneath his certainty. Why? The answer arrived as another wave of ships fell silent. Human vessels moved with unnerving coordination, anticipating Council maneuvers before they completed. Attempts to regroup failed. Orders lagged. Communication nodes flickered offline, not jammed, but bypassed. On Luna, Admiral Elias Rourke watched the engagement unfold in layered projections. Every movement followed doctrine. No improvisation. No vengeance. Status, he said. Council fleet neutralization at 40%, Ishimura replied. Minimal casualties on both sides. Keep it that way, Rourke said. On the Karate flagship, panic replaced discipline. Captains demanded authorization to fire indiscriminately. Valcor hesitated, trapped between pride and collapse. Fire, he snarled at last. Show them consequence. The order came too late. Human countermeasures activated instantly. Weapon locks failed. Targeting solutions dissolved into noise. The Council's technological superiority, designed for domination, proved brittle against systems built for endurance and adaptation. Valcor stared at the tactical display as his fleet unraveled without exploding. Power without violence. Defeat without spectacle. A channel opened on the flagship's main display. Admiral Rourke appeared once more. End this, Valcor demanded, his voice strained. You've made your point. Rourke regarded him evenly. This was never about making a point. Then what? Valcor hissed. Correction, Rourke said. Not punishment. The channel widened. Council delegates appeared alongside Valcor, their composure cracking. Fear moved through them not as terror, but as understanding. "You hid an armada," a Threlian elder said. "Why?" Rourke answered without heat. "Because history taught us what happens when power becomes identity." "You could rule," another delegate said. "We could," Rourke agreed. "We won't." Valcor slammed a claw against the console. "Lies. Power demands obedience." "No," Rourke replied. "Power demands responsibility. That's where you failed." He gestured, and the display shifted to show the disabled Council fleet, alive, contained, spared. "We didn't come to conquer," Rourke continued. "We came to survive a galaxy that believes fear is governance." Silence followed, heavy and unavoidable. Secretary General Velasquez joined the channel. "The choice stands," she said calmly. "Withdraw your forces. Recognize Earth as a sovereign equal. Or escalate and lose everything you brought here." Valcor looked around his bridge. At officers waiting for orders he could no longer give. At a fleet he could not command. For the first time in 14 centuries, he understood restraint as terror. "Withdraw," a council elder said quietly. The order echoed across the armada. One by one, ships powered down what systems remained functional and began retreat protocols. Human vessels did not pursue. They simply watched. As the last council ship disengaged, the galaxy exhaled. Back at the Nexus, emergency sessions convened. Authorities shifted. Valcor was removed from command before the chamber he once dominated. His legacy collapsed not in flames, but in silence. From orbit above Earth, Rourke stood alone in the observation deck. The planet turned beneath him, blue and fragile, unchanged by the revelation that had shaken the stars. Velasquez joined him. "They'll fear us now." "Yes," Rourke said. "But they'll listen. And if they don't?" Rourke watched the sunrise trace Earth's horizon. "Then we'll remind them." Gently. Humanity's fleets slipped back into shadow, not in retreat, but in readiness. The galaxy would remember the moment Earth spoke, not with conquest, but with choice. And for the first time in a long while, fear learned restraint.